Welcome to Holy Headlines, where we pull life lessons out of the chaos. I'm Sister D, and today, a story on Dr. Wendy Osefo, the professor turned Potomac powerhouse whose biggest battle might not be with her castmates, but with the Carroll County Police Department. Recently, we've seen Wendy juggling her businesses, friendships, degrees, and image on camera, all while social media debated whether she's authentic or performing. One minute, she's unbothered and slithering around, and the next she's ready to gather the girls. Before the Bravo lights, the candle lines, and long before the confessional chair, Dr. Wendy had already built a life most people would call complete. She earned a BA in political science from Temple University, a master's in government at Johns Hopkins, and later a master's and PhD in public affairs and community development from Rutgers, where she became the first Black woman in her program to ever do it. She went on to teach at Johns Hopkins and founded the 1954 Equity Project, a nonprofit dedicated to making higher education more equitable for students of color. And at home, her husband, Eddie, a Nigerian-American attorney turned entrepreneur, and the founder of the cannabis brand Happy Eddie, and their 3 children, residing in Finksburg, Maryland. That level of achievement doesn't come from luck. When she first entered the Real Housewives of Potomac universe, Wendy was the academic anomaly, PhD, professor, political commentator. On screen, she spoke like every word had a citation behind it and corrected anyone who forgot to say doctor, signaling that her identity and reputation mattered to her. She came across as poised, well-read, and articulate. She was entering a space where many of the women mastered drama, and she brought the intellectual balance. Eddie, by her side, was the calm counterbalance, law degree in his pocket. Together, they were Black excellence, Nigerian pride, and the promise of a marriage that could weather public life. After season 1, Wendy's transformation was undeniable.
On what?
Hey.
I don't believe that. Girl, if you bring me here to show me your boobs, you better show me your butt.
Just some tweaks.
Because we all know it wasn't nothing back there before. Wendy ain't had no booty. And now, it's a little something back there.
Gone were the work lady blouses, and in came cutouts, confidence, and candor. The woman who once debated policy now debated loyalty, and the shift wasn't just wardrobe. It was a reflection of what fame does when it meets purpose. It tests which one you'll choose to feed. All she wanted was to be understood, not misread. Yet, somewhere between the dinner tables and the reunion couches, Dr. Wendy became a headline. But reality TV has a way of magnifying what's already fragile. And so the spotlight found a scandal no one could ignore. In October 2025, the world learned that Wendy and Eddie stood accused, arrested in Maryland, charged with an elaborate fraud scheme tied to a burglary they claimed happened in April 2024. They reported that over 80 items, jewelry, luxury goods, clothes, were stolen from their home, asserting losses totaling in the hundreds of thousands. But the investigators say the story didn't hold up. Some of the supposedly stolen items had been returned to stores before the break-in, and social media photos allegedly captured Wendy wearing a diamond ring she claimed was lost.
That's suspicious. That's weird.
Deputies also reportedly found at least 15 of the stolen items in the home during their search. They were charged broadly, and the alleged plot, as authorities see it, was not a simple burglary, but a calculated claim to insurance built on false declarations. When the cameras and headlines pounced, the fissures that had always run through their marriage could no longer hide. That confident Wendy, the public intellectual who corrected casual misaddressing, and Eddie, her steady partner, now have to contend with a narrative that paints them both as conspirators and fraudsters.
None of it's true. None of it's true. It's BS. They made it up. They lie.
You want to know what this story reminds me of? A very loose comparison, of course, The story of King Saul. Saul was chosen, talented, but trapped by the image of who people expected him to be. He started out worthy, the kind of man who looked like a king before he ever spoke like one. Israel had been begging for a monarch, and God, in a way both divine and ironic, gave them exactly that, a man whose appearance mirrored their ambition. At first, Saul was humble. He hid from his coronation. He didn't seek the crown sought him. He won battles, commanded armies, and for a time did exactly what God asked. But admiration is a dangerous drug. Once Saul tasted it, obedience started to feel optional. His downfall began quietly and with ego. He started bending commands, performing piety instead of practicing it. When God told him to wait for Samuel to make a sacrifice, Saul got impatient and did it himself.
Hold on, that's too fast, mama. Oh! That's too fast.
When told to destroy Amalek's spoils, he kept the best livestock for God, or so he said. But really, Saul wanted to look faithful, not be faithful. He wanted credit and control. And when a young, charming David showed up, Saul's insecurity bloomed into madness. The very people who once cheered his name now sang another's. And in the end, Saul died by his own sword, wounded in battle and in identity, undone by the gap between how he was seen and who he really was. Now, I'm not saying Wendy is Saul. She's not out here consulting prophets or throwing spears at Giselle, though she got close a couple times. But the pattern rhymes. Wendy's first season was her coronation. Degrees, decorum, diplomacy. She came in crowned. She was smart, articulate, the professor. This brand was her armor, and her intellect was her biggest weapon. But the longer she lived in the Bravo kingdom, the more performance replaced peace.
People like you don't call me Wendy. People like you call me Dr. Wendy.
Each season, the tone shifted. Less about teaching, more about defending. Less about voice, more about volume. Like Saul, her greatest asset became her greatest test. And when the lawsuit hit, it was symbolic of the crown she built in academic excellence, marital stability, entrepreneurial finesse, and it crumbling under the weight of expectation. Because Saul's sin wasn't that he failed, it's that he couldn't stand being seen as less than perfect. And that's the same poison reality TV sells every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern. Saul's story ended because he couldn't stop performing. He forgot he was allowed to be human when everyone demanded a king. It's easy to lose yourself trying to live up to the version everyone applauds, and maybe that's where Wendy is now forced to pause. But the same sharp mind and drive that built her name can rebuild her peace. The difference is, this time, she doesn't need the lights to prove it. Your calling doesn't leave you. It just waits for you to stop performing long enough to hear it again. And maybe, for Wendy, that's what this moment really is.